Welcome to Soundbites. I'm your host, Jennifer Chandler. Today I'll be talking with Daniel Lynn, the founder of Grind City Coffee Expo, and Hopper Seeley, the owner of Grind City Brewing Company. We will be talking about the 5th annual Grind City Coffee Expo that is taking place on Saturday, November 16th. Soundbites is the Daily Memphian's weekly food, drink, and dining podcast. You can tune in on WYXR Radio every Thursday at 11 a.m. or listen wherever you get your podcast, iTunes or Spotify, or listen at dailymemphian.com. If you are listening on WYXR, up next you can listen to Sidebar with Eric Barnes. But let's get started talking about this great caffeine-filled festival. Daniel and Hopper, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
This event, it's in its 5th year, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's so exciting, Daniel. I mean, I have watched it grow from its very first year where it was this tiny little festival into something that is just, how many people attended last year?
Last year we had about 500 people.
That's great.
Absolutely.
That's great.
Absolutely.
I went last year and it was a lot of fun and there's a lot going on there. It's not just go and drink a cup of coffee.
Yes, absolutely.
So tell us about what people can expect at this festival.
So this year we're gonna. Last year we added like discussion panels and like a coffee and cocktail element. This year we're continuing with that. So we have more discussion panels, different ones this time. This time we're going to do a cupping panel. That's how to taste coffee. That's put on by the good people at Sustain 901. They do a lot of like home brewing 101. Then the next panel is going to be cooking with coffee, which I'm really excited about because I'm a big, I like to cook and learn things about cooking. So that's why we have Hopper here with us. He's going to help out with that panel. It's going to be basically barbecue, baking, and beer.
Wow, that sounds very interesting. Because I normally think about obviously a tiramisu or dessert, or something like that. But then yes, a coffee rub on a steak.
Oh my goodness!
I have to tell, Ina Garten has a great coffee rub steak rub recipe that you can get online, and we use it all the time. So maybe now I can find a new one that we need to try.
Absolutely. Well, Bain will be there. Bain Barbecue will be there to talk about barbecue and coffee. I'm hoping they talk about a rub as well. Yeah. And then we've added the new hotness in expos and events. It seems to be flash tattoos. So we're gonna have a tattoo artist there, and he's gonna do $50 flash tattoos. So
it's a flash tattoo, just a really quick baby tattoo.
Really quick baby, usually just lines only tattoo. You can get right there on the spot. So Chewy from Ink Therapy will be there, and he's super pumped. And he just released his flash designs on Halloween. So check out the socials for that.
Does he have one of a coffee cup? I think that's very fitting for this event.
Yeah, there's a mocha cup. I think he's got a skull coffee cup. He's got the caffeine molecular structure that you can get. It's super cool. I'm a big tattoo fan, so one for my heart there. And then because we're in an art gallery, something else you can experience. There's a couple of things. We're gonna have a virtual art gallery within that. Catherine Hicks has put that together for us. So we're gonna have different artists submit their artwork, and the links to their art will all be virtual in this gallery, and you can run your little avatar through the virtual art gallery. At the expo itself, we'll have it on a big projector, and then right in front of that projector, to try to vibe it up, we're gonna have quartets from the Memphis Symphony Orchestra play.
Wow.
And that's all sponsored by Crosstown Arts. So
that's amazing. And that's where this event is going to be this year for the first time.
Yeah, boom, yeah.
And so for people who don't know where Crosstown Arts is, you want to tell them where it is?
Yeah, so Crosstown Concourse. If you go in the main, it's called Central Atrium. That's where French Truck is. Big staircase, WYXR's radio station is right there. If you go up the main staircase, hang a right, and then you'll see the Crosstown Arts Gallery. and that's where it is. Also, it's up those spiral red staircases that everybody likes to take pictures on.
Yeah,
so,
it's a really cool event space.
Yeah, it's
Vintage
beautiful.
901 has done their event there before.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And it is I wish more events happened up there because it does lend itself to being it's such a unique space for Memphis.
Absolutely.
Crosstown is, but that whole space and it being an art gallery, it has a really cool, fun vibe.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, art gallery, right? I mean, art and coffee go together. So, and the first, full circle, the first coffee expo was at the Memphis College of Art.
That's right.
So number 5 is in a different art gallery.
I hadn't thought about that. That's very fitting.
Absolutely. So it's very organic.
Let's talk about the coffee itself, because obviously we have all these cool things that kind of intertwine, that kind of, add to this event, this expo. But, who's going to be there? How many vendors do you have this year?
We're going to have 27.
27. That's more than you've had in the past, isn't it?
That is, yes, that is more. Yeah, significantly more. So,
I mean, it is amazing to me about how the coffee scene in Memphis has just exploded.
Absolutely.
I mean, for years it was if you wanted to have something other than the chains, I feel like Otherlands was one of probably the first that was around.
Otherlands is an OG, and then Cafe Eclectic.
Cafe Eclectic was there, and then now it's just we have so many great options that are not just making great coffee and being original, but a lot of them are roasting their own beans.
100%, yeah.
And I guess as you've seen over the 5 years, you've had more people to invite over.
Absolutely, yeah, more people to come play.
Yeah.
It's
so who are some of the people? Are there anybody who's been there every year?
Dr. Beans has been there since the beginning.
And if people don't know where there is, their coffee shop is downtown on South Main Street.
Yes, inside of Stock and Bell. Yeah. And then let's see who else has been there. Coffee wise, Comeback Coffee has been there since the beginning. They're over
downtown,
on North Main. And then honestly, that's really it as far as people have been. It's been a lot of flux.
Yep.
In the Memphis coffee scene. But and then there is a gelato company that has been there from the beginning too. I don't want to leave them out. Dipstickle.
Oh, really?
Out in Cordova.
Yes.
They have literally been there since day one.
It's one of those people that I think that people don't know what Dipstickle is because it's hidden in the Trinity Commons.
Yes.
And they make gelato, but it's gelato on a stick.
Exactly.
And you can basically put your own toppings and chocolate and crushed candies or nuts. And it's such a fun place. And when I'm there, I'm going to have to make a point. I have never met the owner.
Yeah.
I have been in there several times and I have included them in roundups on my some of my favorite ice cream, but I don't know her yet.
They're super cool.
So I think it's family owned, correct?
It is.
Yep. She offer a coffee or a tiramisu flavor or something like that?
The affogatos are usually the thing. Yeah. So coffee
sense.
Over gelato, right?
Going back to the demos, and that's why we have Hopper here, who is a man known for his amazing beers and his really cool brewery that has just the most amazing views over downtown Memphis, Grind City Brewing Company. It's a really special place for anybody who has not been there. And I would assume most Memphians have had your beer by now, but if anybody listening has not, you need to check out his beers. He just really has some great stuff going on. So what are you going to be doing? How did you get involved, coffee and beer? How does this kind of...
Well, coffee and beer always go very well together. Whether it is you're having a coffee before a night out of drinking beers, or you've had too many beers, the next day you got to have a coffee, or you're putting coffee in the beer. Which is actually one of the things we're doing is we're brewing a coffee stout for the event itself that'll be available for tasting. So it'll be about, a little stronger, 7% alcohol, and put a nice little dose of dark roast coffee in there to kind of round it all about. And we're really excited to be a part of it.
That's awesome. Now, do you have a fun name for it? I feel like all your beers have fun names.
We do not have a name for this one yet, I don't think, but I'm sure, I believe that'll be in our naming panel in our next marketing meeting on Wednesday. So after you name about 1,000 beers, you're like, call it beer 3.
Yeah.
But for this one, we're going to go a little extra with it. So I'm sure we'll think of a cool name for it.
Or
sure.
it could be the Grind City Coffee Expo Stout.
It could be the Grind City Expo Stout.
Grind City squared?
Oh, I like that. Grind City
that's a
Squared
good
Coffee
one.
Stout.
Yeah, that's
I like
cool.
that.
That is a very, very good one. Have you done coffee in a beer before? I'm assuming.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That's anytime when you, even at like homebrew level, the first thing any homebrewer does is they make a fruit beer, they make an IPA, and they make a coffee stout. Those are always the first 3 things. So I've been making coffee beers for, goodness, probably 15 years now. And then when we opened the brewery in 2020, we always tried to rotate some sort of coffee style beer, whether that be a coffee blonde ale or a white stout or a coffee stout, coffee porter. The list goes on and on. Now, we did attempt to make a coffee IPA and we completely changed the recipe after we tasted and we're like, this needs to not go on sale. But I love brewing coffee, and I mean, we all drink coffee at the brewery anyway, so it's fun to make a coffee beer.
That's awesome. And so when you're doing this, kind of going back to like 101 for somebody like me who has never attempted to brew beer myself as a home brewer, do you use like roasted beans? Do you use like when you're making, or do you use already brewed coffee, or how does that work?
Yeah, so there's multiple ways you can do it. You can when you're boiling the wort, what beer is before it's fermented, you can steep whole coffee beans into the boil, and that is going to give you good aroma, but it's not going to give you a bunch of flavor. You could make just regular coffee and pour that in. What we do, and what most breweries typically do, is they make a very, very concentrated batch of cold brew. And then you dump, once the beer's, like right before you're about to keg it or can it, you take that cold brew and you dump it into the beer, then you carbonate it, and then you're good to go, which is what we do with our coffee beers now.
So you get a double buzz.
Yes.
You get the beer buzz and the caffeine buzz.
It's sadly not enough caffeine to really make a difference. Thanks, Four Loko, for changing those laws. But
oh my goodness.
But it's enough caffeine to where if you drink enough, you're like, okay, I think I may have had a half a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
But you're really doing it for the flavor, because anytime, even like a stout without coffee has really strong coffee notes. But the best part about making it is when you make the concentrated cold brew, you're like, all right, how good does the cold brew taste? And you drink about half of it, then you have to make more, and then you put that into the beer.
I know. I'm sure there's some what do you call it? There are the pitfalls about being in your business about you're either over caffeinated or you have to be careful you don't have too much alcohol. It was like I used to be a pastry chef in my previous life, and I was just like I had to be very careful because I would get like sugar highs because I would be I loved to taste everything. And my waistline also was not so good at that point in time. I'm trying all of this.
Beer doesn't do, some beers do, but some beers also can help add to the waistline a little bit. Temptation for us at the brewery.
So have you participated in this event before, Hopper?
We have not. So we actually reached out this year, mostly because we've been following Grind City Expo for a while now. And this year was like, okay, we're Grind City Brewing Company. It's Grind City Coffee Expo. We got to figure out if we can make this work. And we reached out, and it was like very welcoming, like, yeah, we should definitely work this out. And almost immediately started talking, and we figured out how to make it work.
As far as like going back to the vendors and things like that, is there anybody else that's doing we have Bain Barbecue that's going to be doing something on cooking. Mm-hmm. You're going to be talking about beer and how that works with coffee. Is there any other restaurants or chefs involved that you want to
Brandy
mention?
Martyr from Bedrock Eats and Sweets is going to do the baking portion.
Okay.
So she's going to talk about baking with coffee.
Okay.
So maybe you'll get your tiramisu out of that.
Yes, I know. I miss her shop downtown.
Same.
It makes me sad. I know that she's doing catering and private,
exactly.
prepared foods or something like that you can order from her.
I think if we like all get on her enough, she'll bring back at least the food truck. She's got a food truck, so
waffles,
come on, the waffles,
gluten-free,
right? Oh,
paleo waffle sandwiches. If you guys never went to Bedrock Eats, those listening, it was down on South Main Street, and it was a great place, and it was one of those places that just kind of the pandemic, I think, put it out of business, and it just makes me really sad that it's gone. But again, she's out there. She's a great talented chef, and I think it's probably just her website's still up under So you can go and you can find out how you can order her food if you wanted to. You're listening to the Daily Memphian Sound Bites with me, Jennifer Chandler. Today we're talking with Daniel Lynn, the founder of Grind City Coffee Expo, and Hopper Seeley, the owner of Grind City Brewing Company. If you're tuning in on WYXR, keep listening for the sidebar with Eric Barnes after this. If you're listening through your podcast app, be sure to subscribe. You can also find our other Daily Memphian podcast, The Sidebar with Eric Barnes about art, culture, and more, Grizzlies Pod with Drew Hill and Chris Harrington, Behind the Headlines Podcast Edition, and On the Record, an occasional political podcast with Daily Memphian legend Bill Dries. How did you come up with the idea, Daniel, to do a coffee expo?
So it kind of goes back to Brandy and Bedrock a little bit. I was working at South of Beale, downtown in the old location, and I would always go down the street and go to Bedrock, and she had this cold brew there. And I was like, because I'm doing double shifts, I've got to be up till 3 a.m., like I need caffeine. And so I would get the cold brew. I found out that I loved it. I was like, this cold brew is really good. Like, who is it? It's Dr. Beans, cold brew. And so I contacted Charles, Dr. Beans on Facebook. I was like, hey, like I really like this. How do I get some outside of Bedrock? So he hooked me up. We started chatting, and then I went to the Science of Beer actually that year. And I started looking around. I was like, this would be really cool if it was coffee. And so here we are. I did the old Google and found out there weren't that many. At the time, this was 2019, and the closest coffee event was on the East Coast in Virginia. And so I was like, well, we should definitely do a thing here.
Yeah.
So we did it, and it was great. And now here we are 5 years later, still doing it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so there is a tie going back to between coffee and beer beyond the stout that is important to Memphis, and it's our water. Yes. And every time that I feel like I talk to somebody who brews beer here in Memphis, they always talk about one of the reasons our beer is so good is, in addition to your talent, you have Hopper and things like that. But but you
that's like 99%.
Yeah. But you start with an ingredient that is really great.
Yeah, the water here is like saying our water is great. We take it such for granted how amazing our water is, especially for brewing or coffee or anything.
Right. Well, that's to say, it's like the key. It's like the majority of what's in beer and the majority of what's in coffee is water.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this event has a purpose beyond just being that it's a ton of fun and you get to learn. It's an event. One of the things I love about this event, when you talked about the science of beer, great ideas because they're fun, but you walk away and you feel like you've left learning something. Exactly. And that's another reason I love this event. And, but, protect the aquifer. Can you kind of tell us about that? And because this event is a fundraiser for
Absolutely.
Correct?
All proceeds from this event go straight to protect our aquifer, or I'll call it POA, I'm sure about a dozen times. So that's what it is. And their goal is to protect our drinking water from the Memphis Sand Aquifer, which is right below our feet. Our drinking water is roughly around 2,000 years old, and that predates plastics and things like that. That's why it is so good. It also gets filtered out by clay and sand layers as it goes down. These are natural layers that we also need to protect. And so that's why it's like lifelong Memphian. Water is near and dear to my heart. And so especially when you travel and you taste the other water and some other
Yep.
places, you know how good we have it. So.
I was born in New Orleans, and I've lived most of my life in Memphis, but we'd always go home and visit relatives, and it's
It's night and day difference.
Ooh,
You're like,
can't drink that water.
I don't drink your tap water here, do you?
Yeah.
I do think it makes their baguettes better, that funkiness that's in the water, but I don't think I
Could
like
be.
it for drinking, making coffee, or making beer.
Could be. Yeah.
This event, when you attend it, there are for tickets,
Mm-hmm.
which you can get on, it's grindcitycoffee.com.
That's correct.
Is
Yeah,
it that?
grindcitycoffee.com.
Okay. And you have 2 different times that people can
Correct.
attend.
Yes, we have a 9 a.m. ticket that gets you in. You can come hang out all day, at least in our space until 2 p.m. because that's when it ends. But hang out in Crosstown as long as you want. Good stuff to do there. And we also have an 11:30 a.m. ticket. Goal is like twofold. We wanted to provide an option for slightly a cheaper option for people that want to take advantage of that. The only thing you would miss with the 11:30 ticket is a panel and one of the coffee and cocktail tastings.
Okay.
So
Coffee and cocktail tastings.
Yes.
We forgot to mention that.
it is happening.
It is happening.
Yeah.
So you want to tell us a little bit about
yeah.
that? Because I remember that from last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've partnered with Art Bar at
Okay.
Crosstown. If you haven't been there, it's a beautiful space. You should definitely
Fantastic spot.
And really
super unique.
creative
Yeah.
mixologists over there.
Absolutely. They've been a huge help. Dean and Spencer have been great about creating cocktails for us. We're going to have 3 cocktails. I believe you all are part of one of them, yes?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
So we're going to have a stout
Yes.
cocktail?
So they'll actually have they'll have our coffee stout there. They'll also have our Gator Patrol Orange Cream Sour there as well during the day.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And then that's what they're going to make a cocktail with?
I believe so. I know they're doing draft, but I think they're still experimenting with some
Yeah,
stuff.
they haven't finalized their recipes yet, but
Because
I know,
we got to give them. We're doing that this week. We're going to drop off a sample of the
Awesome.
coffee stout for them to
Awesome.
start messing around with.
And I guess we'll also give a shout out too, because you guys make at the brewery at Grind City Brewing Company, you guys at the tap room, you guys do kind of like make cocks, or
beer-
beer with your seltzers.
beer tails, yeah, we make a
What do you
really
call them? They're not mocktails because they have alcohol.
They have
in it.
alcohol,
Yeah.
but because they don't have liquor, they're called it's beer cocktails.
Beer
is really
cocktails.
what they are. So we make a seltzer base. So imagine a non-flavored seltzer, hard seltzer, but instead of 5%, it's 15% alcohol, and then we'll mix in. That's where we've done mojitos, we've done Moscow Mules, we've done all sorts of stuff with that.
And I do have to give a shout out for anybody listening to this. You need to go to dailymemphian.com and you need to look up the Lagarita recipe that we have in the recipe exchange that I did this summer with Hopper. He did a really fun beer spin on a margarita.
Oh, amazing.
With us. And that recipe is up on dailymemphian.com right now. Just Google Lagarita from Grind City Coffee Company and you'll be able to find it. Once we were talking before, Daniel, and you were giving me, it was when I was attending this event for, I think, one of the first time a few years ago, and you were giving me some tips on when you attend a coffee event, and Hopper was just mentioning that some of this probably is like when you attend a beer festival. You don't walk in the door and have, go to the first 5 vendors and either have a double espresso at each one, or you wouldn't have a full pint of beer at each one. You have to pace yourself a little bit. Will you kind of give some advice on how to pace yourself when going through this coffee expo?
Absolutely. Yeah. I would recommend, start off with everyone who attends. With your ticket comes a handmade ceramic mug by one of our local mug makers, William Leschek. He's working out of Bell Tower. So with that mug, it's like 4 to 6 ounces. That's how you'll taste everything. So when you go through the event, the vendors will fill it up probably to the brim, but maybe you don't have to drink all that. That's up to you. We will have buckets around for excess liquid. Should you choose not to partake in the whole thing. And then I would say also hydrate. So with water. We love coffee, but it does dehydrate you.
And probably don't have a cup of coffee that morning
Yes.
before you come.
Yeah,
Wait to have your morning coffee till you get there.
The first expo was at 10 a.m. That was when we started it, and we got lots of complaints that they had to wait till 10 a.m. before they had their first cup of coffee. So I've compromised a bit and gone to 9 a.m. Any earlier, and that's like us and the vendors getting up at like 4 a.m. trying to load in. So this is what we got. But also, we're gonna have people there from like Lulu's bakery. I know JoJo's bring Palmer's bakery as well, and others that will have baked goods and pastries. So eat that.
Yes.
As well. They will sample those. I believe Hustle and Dough is actually going to bring samples too. So eat as well. So you can put some food on top of that coffee and beer.
Yes.
Yes.
Otherwise you might be a little jittery.
Yes.
If you're feeling the jitters, just a little bit more beer and you'll be fine.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. Maybe even have like 3 coffees and then go have a sample of beer and level it out. We can play that game too.
Yeah. And one of the things that I really love about this event, though, too, that I would love to tell everyone to do is to take the time and talk to the vendors.
Absolutely.
Because you can learn so much from these folks. And it's really a rare opportunity that you have the people there that are roasting, the beans and selecting the beans and creating your favorite fun, crazy coffee drinks that you love.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it's in kind of getting to know, hear about their story and their passion and what their favorite order is. It's really kind of a really unique thing that doesn't happen a lot, because sometimes you go, and especially if you go in for your morning coffee, it's someplace at 8 o'clock in the morning and there's a line out the door. Nobody has time to really kind of.
Nobody wants to talk that long. Yeah.
Well, to visit, but they just can't because they're taking care of customers.
100%.
And as I said, it's just, I've learned a lot going through this, and, also to see some of the interesting different brewing techniques that I didn't know about before, because, at home I have an espresso maker, a little old-fashioned one that I've had for years. I have an espresso machine, and then we have a good old 4-cup Mr. Coffee, $15 classic,
Absolutely.
But then all the things like pour-overs, and then the fancy ways they do cold brews, and you can see all that here and kind of learn about it. And I think it's a really, really unique opportunity. So again, will you tell everybody one more time, Daniel, how they get tickets?
Get tickets to grindcitycoffee.com. There's a big pink button that says tickets. You can't miss it. That's how I would do it.
Yes, and if you're up for getting up early, I would say go to the morning one and kind of start your day, and then plan to have a big lunch afterwards to absorb all that caffeine.
Big lunch, and then I always tell people, plan to do all your chores that you need to do right after the expo, because that's what you need. Like that, you will have all the liquid motivation.
That is a great idea. I'm just going to plan all my Thanksgiving prep.
Boom.
For that afternoon.
Absolutely. Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes. So, well, that's all the time we have for now. And I want to thank you both for coming and talking with us about this really cool event. I will be there. I'm so excited. You can tune in on WYXR Radio every Thursday at 11, or listen wherever you get your podcast, iTunes or Spotify, or listen at dailymemphian.com. Thank you again, Daniel and Hopper.
Thank you so much.